Albion Place houses. They were tall and porticoed, but less roomy than their elevation promised. They copied the bad Mayfair example of sacrificing too much space to a handsome drawing-room, cramped the entrance hall with a couple of hollow pillars that supported nothing, and relegated the servants to box-rooms above and cellars below. The nurseries were in the attics, for the denizens of Albion Place, unlike their genuinely fashionable exemplars, lived in London all the year round and reared their families on the spot. Nurseries there had to be. In short, the dominant characteristic of these houses was falseness. As a direct result, the tenants tended to live beyond their means, for they had to keep up appearances. The large drawing-rooms demanded to be filled, the pillars in the hall postulated six-course dinners in the dining-rooms. Not for Albion Place the Bloomsbury saddle of lamb, the Baker Street pair of fowls, and not for Albion Place either the liberal supply of butcher's meat below stairs. One had to economise somewhere. Though living above one's income, one didn't, in Albion Place, go the whole hog and ruin oneself. But one economised where one could. One subscribed with particular alacrity to the new convention, discovered about 1870, that it was just as smart to job a brougham, got up of course to look like a private carriage, as to keep one's own cattle. Horses were sold, coachmen dismissed, the last locks of hay mouldered in the empty cribs. By 1875 only 4 sets of stables, all at the Albion or Anti-Cock end, retained their proper tenants. In these flats the windows were clean and curtained. Number 2 still showed pots of geranium on the sills. But the rest of the Mews had long been squatted by a low-class colony of private traders, flower girls, step-women, knife-grinders, a chimney-sweep, a Punch and Judy man, their numerous progeny, often unlicensed shoeblacks, whose iniquity blackened all about them. Here windows were often broken and always dirty. Washing was left to hang till the dust from the beaten mats grimed it afresh. Slatternly women gossiped and quarrelled, debated the affairs of their petty Alsatia, and shouted ribald abuse at the men round the door of the Cock. If it were asked what was the landlord about, the answer was that he had found out the value of slum property. Britannia Mews cost him not a penny, and let at 3 shillings a week per 4th part of a room. At 10:30 on a May morning in the year 1875, Adelaide Culver, aged 10½, issued from the back door of No. 8 Albion Place, and slipped across the alley, and entered the Mews. 2. She had no business there. The Mews was strictly forbidden territory to both the Culver children, though Treff, as a boy, could always escape blame by lisping that he had gone to look at the pretty horses, but he rarely went. He was not an enterprising child. Even then, from where she stood just under the archway, Adelaide could see him waiting patiently, ready, dressed to go out, at the back window of the nursery upstairs. Adelaide flashed him a look of contempt. About 4 years younger than herself, Treff appeared to her the merest baby, unworthy of any serious consideration. "What a dear little brother you have," ladies used to say at Mrs. Culver's tea-parties, and though Adelaide had early learned the proper answer, she frequently gave it in so off-hand a tone that the ladies were quite disconcerted. Adelaide, too, was dressed for Kensington Gardens, her short jacket buttoned, her beaver muff hanging on its cord round her neck. It was long past the muff season, but Adelaide had a passion for muffs, and a stronger will than her governesses. In conjunction with the bunched-up rear of her fishwife skirt, this muff gave her upper part a very solid, almost matronly appearance, whereas her legs in their striped stockings were unmistakably the legs of an active and wiry little girl. On her head she wore a pork-pie hat, maroon felt trimmed with a quill, and round her neck a sort of lace cravat, the costume, in fact, destined to be preserved for at least 3 more generations in the popular art of the scrapbook and Christmas cracker. It suited Adelaide well enough, and perhaps better than any prettier or freer style, for she was a plain child, with features already strongly marked, aquiline nose, black brows, and stubborn chin. Her mother hoped she would grow up to look distinguished. Adelaide, for her part, secretly considered her appearance interesting.